Hello and welcome to another episode of the Monday Night Wars. It is February 26th, 1996, and we are at the Knoxville Civic Coliseum in Knoxville, Tennessee, live with WCW Monday Night Nitro. I am Scott. With me is Joseph, and much like Pink Floyd, I am shorter of breath and one day closer to death. How you doing, Joseph?
I'm great, man. I love that you're turning your being sick into a gimmick.
We do it for the people because we do long-term storytelling here, unlike WCW. That's what we do. We're just showing you how it's done, ladies and gentlemen, how the game is played. We're real professionals here.
Yeah, absolutely. With our 20 subscribers.
Yes. But it is what it is. We're moving. We're moving on up. We're getting
100%.
big. You know what else is big?
What's that?
Big Bubba Rogers.
True.
And he has a match
Nice.
against Sting.
Even better.
And Sting wins because I think that has to happen. But
Yeah.
importantly, Joseph, Bischoff does one of your favorite things. He gives away the results to WWF, which he calls the World Whining Federation. That's probably why they changed their name, because Bischoff got him with such a zinger. But Sting defeats Big Bo Rogers. It's a 7-minute, 14-minute match. It's a pretty long match, Joseph. What'd you think about it?
I enjoyed it. It got a B+ from me. That's probably the highest grade I can give it because there's no story in this. But this is really the first time, I think, in a long time, if ever, on Nitro, that we've really got to see Big Bubba kind of shine. He's had a full-fledged, like you said, it's a pretty long match, a full-fledged match with Sting. They get to go back and forth. He gets to do his, get his repertoire out there. It's entertaining. Big Bubba is not a bad wrestler. We like Big Bubba. We just don't necessarily like the gimmick. So it's nice to see him get some screen time finally.
Yeah, Big Bubba, better known as Big Boss Man. Really, he just should have never left WWF. He has a long, great career at WWF, and WCW just does nothing for him. But we finally get a match where Big Bubba gets to be Big Boss Man. And it's not bad. I mean, Sting obviously has to win because it is Sting, the icon. But he gives Sting a run for his money. It is by no means an easy win for Sting. And overall, pretty good. Do you have any comments about Eric Bischoff spoiling WWF? I mean, I know you've talked about it before, but anything else you want to add?
I honestly completely forgot it after you said it. I'm good.
That's how much you love it. You love it. You love it. Well, after that, though, we got Mean Gene, and I'm not going to do it this time because I am sick, and I already had enough trouble getting out Booty Man. And Booty Man is back, so I'm going to do it again. But we got to save it. We got to save our shots. So right now we got Mean Gene, and he's talking with Sting and Lex Luger. But what happens, Joseph? Well, the Road Warriors, they interrupt. And they challenge Sting and Lex to a Chicago street fight at Uncensored not in Chicago, in Tupelo, Mississippi.
Pretty much the same thing.
Close enough, I say. What do you say, Joseph?
I wasn't in love with this, but what made me actually laugh is Luger goes, I'm from Chicago. I have no idea what a Chicago street fight is. It made me laugh. I thought it was great. That is the only real great thing from it. I'm more hyped for the match than I am for this promo. This promo is just kind of whatever.
We like Goofy Luger.
Yeah.
We're fans of Goofy Luger. And so that was kind of a callback to when he was a little bit more of a goofy character for a little while. And we really enjoyed that. Lex has kind of grown on us,
He is.
We like it. So it wasn't bad. And if you like Lex, well, good news. You're about to get some more of him because he has a match. Lex Luger versus the Renegade, Joseph. The Renegade is back. The Ultimate Warrior you've got at home is back. Are you excited?
I will say that I am excited because it's kind of like Big Bubba, right? We hadn't seen them for a while and now they're back. Renegade's not amazing, but hey, glad to see that he's getting some screen time.
Yeah, and I mean, he's kind of got a dark history that we won't get into because we talked about it enough in previous podcasts, but I'm rooting for the guy.
Yeah.
2020's hindsight, and I'm rooting for the guy. It doesn't work out, But I'm rooting for the guy. And Renegade gives Lex a run for his money. He really is just the Ultimate Warrior. He's just WCW's Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
But he's giving Lex a run for his money. Jimmy Hart, who used to manage him, interferes. He pushes Renegade off the top rope. Lex apparently doesn't see any of this. He's dumbfounded by the whole thing. And he throws Renegade back in the ring, gets him in the torture rack for the win. It's a 5-minute, 47-second match. After, though, Lex and Jimmy are celebrating their win, and Sting doesn't like this. He saw the whole thing. They cheated, and that's not how Sting does business. So he confronts Lex. Lex doesn't know what happened. He didn't see anything. But you know what Lex does, Joseph? You know what he does? Good guy Lex lifts Renegade's arm as a show of respect. And a tear came to my eye.
Yeah,
A
it's
tear came
beautiful.
to my eye. Yeah. But Sting doesn't buy it. Shakes his head and tells Lex off anyways. What'd you make of all this?
I actually gave this an A. I know the match isn't a story match when you look at it on paper. Lex Luger and Renegade have no rivalry, but the story isn't really about Renegade. It's about the finish. And this finish of Jimmy Hart helping Lex, it propels this implosion that we've been ready for with Sting and Lex Luger. It does a really good job. You mentioned the Lex holding up Renegade's arm because he's like, oh, you're right. He wins. How about that? And it honestly, you mentioned Goofy Lex. It's more Goofy Lex. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. It's nice to see Jimmy Hart have a storyline finally with these two that makes sense because they teased forever ago that he had a plan that never came to fruition. So it's nice to see that finally kind of become a thing. We've been waiting for this implosion. It makes a lot of sense. So far, WCW is like firing on all cylinders out the gate, and I'm enjoying it.
Earlier in this podcast, I made fun of WCW for their lack of long-term storytelling. And then they swerve me, Joseph. They bring back a storyline from months ago that I thought that they had just forgotten about. But the geniuses in the writing room, they knew the whole time, had this plan the whole time. That's absolutely how it happened.
Yeah, it wasn't by accident at all.
They just didn't go, oh, remember we were doing that? Let's do that again.
Yeah.
Which is probably what happened.
Yeah.
But it's working for me, so I'm okay. And you're right about tonight. I tell you, this episode so far of WCW Nitro is like poetry, Joseph.
Sort of rhymes.
It rhymes, my friend. And I'm going to tell
Beautiful.
you why I say that. Because you remember how I told you about how the Road Warriors were out earlier asking Lex and Sting to a Chicago street fight? Remember when I told you about that?
Yeah.
They're back.
Oh.
Because everything is coming together. Sting was in a match, and then we had Sting giving Lex the business. And then we had them in a promo, and then we had Lex in a match. It's all coming together. Road Warriors versus Harlem Heat for the WCW World Tag Team Championship #1 contender match. Pretty straightforward match. I'll let you go into the details of it, Joseph. The Road Warriors ultimately do pull it off. They win the match, 7 minutes, 54 seconds. And if we didn't know, Bischoff tells us the Road Warriors are now the new #1 tag team title contenders. Break this one down for me, Joseph.
I mean, there's not too much to break down. It's like you said, it's a straightforward match. It's really a brawlers match, which I think is one of those things I know you really love is a good old fashioned, brawling style match. That's what this is. All four men are really good at what they're doing. They got to be for me. This is continuing the storyline of Road Warriors eventually, facing off with Sting and Lex Luger while Sting and Lex Luger are starting to split and there's fractures in their friendship. This is what should happen. This is the right outcome. It doesn't make Harlem Heat look any worse. They still look like a threat in the division. They look almost like the firmly cemented third team in the division, which obviously that's the point of a #1 contenders match. But sometimes #1 contenders matches don't end up that way. This was a hard fought match. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, a real slobber knocker, as some would say. Good back and forth. This match, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know who was going to win, and I enjoyed it. I thought the Road Warriors were in rare form. I haven't liked their last couple of matches because they just kind of seem like they're over it. Kind of at the end of their career, which they are. But this was a good match. This was them like we know them, and Harlem Heat are great. I mean, Booker T is one of the greatest of all time, and he works well with Stevie Ray. So, good match, great match, even, but not as great as American Kickboxer 2. And that's going to be on after Nitro. You didn't even see that coming.
Tell us about it, Scott.
You want me to look into American Kickboxer 2? You want me to
Oh,
tell you
I
about it?
I assumed as a professional journalist you had already done this.
Well, Joseph, I thought it was so good that it didn't need to be said. I thought I didn't have to explain everything. I thought everyone knew about American Kickboxer 2, which is a 1993 Filipino-American martial arts action film. I'm not sure if this is the right movie, but
It's not. It's a 1991 American martial arts film.
what?
I'm looking at on Wikipedia right now. Kickboxer 2, right?
I'm on Wikipedia right now.
Starring Sasha Mitchell.
No, that's not it. I'm not. What?
And it is written by David S. Goyer.
Oh, that is good. Well, since you got the inside track here, my friend, let us know. Let us
Da-
know about American
David
Kickboxer
S.
2.
David S. Goyer helped to write the Dark Knight trilogy and also Man of Steel and one of your favorite films, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. Scott is a big fan of Zack Snyder. So this is what this kind of started his career.
Don't use my things against me. Don't do what I do, where I act like you like something but you don't. Don't be silly minds.
That
It's your
being
own
said,
gimmick, pal.
that being said, it went up against for Best Picture, went up against Silence of the Lambs and lost. So, but I mean, right
American
up.
Kickboxer 2?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, I didn't know it was so well thought of. Yeah. Wait, this is the same movie, is this a different what? I'm going back. This has to be the same movie. No, it's not, I don't understand this. There's 2 American Kickboxer 2s and they're different.
Listen, the Kickboxer franchise is just, it's a little bit, over your head. And I get that. There's a lot of layers to it.
Yeah, I thought I was in the cinema, but apparently I know nothing. I know nothing. Well, all right. I don't know where to go from this point.
How about the next match?
You want to talk about the next match?
I mean,
Okay.
we might as well. That's the point of the podcast.
We'll talk about the next match then, since you want to so badly. Let me give you the card.
Okay.
We got Kevin Sullivan, who we don't hate in the ring. He's not bad in the ring. We got Arn and Ric Flair.
Good.
We got the Hulkster.
Okay.
We got Randy Savage.
Nice.
And we got the boo team man. The booty man.
Fuck.
Yeah. So it's Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, and the Booty Man versus Kevin Sullivan, Arn, and Ric Flair with Miss Elizabeth and the Woman in a 6-man tag team match. This match is, I think it's safe to say, the Booty Man's finest hour. I'm actually not kidding, because the sole purpose of this match seems to be to put the Booty Man over. That seems to be what they're doing here. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying the intent seems to be to put the Booty Man over, because he's going wild. Kimberly comes out. She's interested in the Booty Man. She brings him flowers because she wants to get a look at that booty. They actually finally acknowledge that the Booty Man was just previously the Zodiac, but turns out he was a spy the whole time. He was in the dungeon for a Hulk Hogan. Wow.
This dude was Leonardo DiCaprio in The Departed.
That's some long-term storytelling, my friend. This is kind of like The Sixth Sense, where you go back to the flashbacks and you see all the examples where you should have caught it that he was dead the whole time. This is this storyline. If we go back and look at all of the clues, we would have known that the Zodiac was in on it the whole time.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Wow. So they win. Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, the Booty Man. They win because of course they do because Hulk Hogan's in the match,
Yeah.
and the sole purpose of this is to put the Booty Man over, I guess. What do you make of this, my friend?
The match is fine. It's not like it's a whatever. This is kind of a very, very like TV type match. I don't really care. Like I'm not gonna sit here and give a bunch of crap to Hogan for having to win the match. I think it's fine. It's whatever. It's a whatever match. The Kimberly coming out thing is kind of annoying because you just had this whole like Kimberly's gimmick that she has not created. It's been kind of created for her. Seems to be she's just in love with somebody. That's the idea. She's in love with DDP. Then DDP scorns her. She's in love with Johnny B. Bad. Then Johnny B. Bad leaves and becomes Mark Marrow, or rather uses his real name and goes to WWF. And so she has nobody. So now she's in love with the Booty Man. And it's like, that's kind of exhausting. I'm a little bit over it. But again, the match is fine. I will say, though, the ending is incredibly convoluted. Like, it just kind of doesn't make any sense. Miss Elizabeth is trying to get handcuffs on Hogan, and she's not able to. She can't get them on. And while she can't get them on, and just peak production level, the cameraman zooms in on her struggling to get them on, like on the hands. And you just see like Hogan trying to help her get the handcuffs on him, and it doesn't really work. So the ending really ruins this more than anything. It's just kind of like it's just a jumbled mess at the end. But honestly, most six-man tags kind of are. So it's whatever. It won't dampen how I feel about the show as a whole.
Well, good news, Joseph, because there's gonna be another 6-man tag next week.
All right.
But I can't believe you didn't like Kimberly, or as she comes to be known as, the Booty Babe.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
I've never forgotten. I wake up in a cold sweat some nights, screaming, "The Booty Babe, the Booty Babe, no!" The Booty Man, as I think I told you offline, I hate the Booty Man so much that I've actually started to love it. I think I've developed a Stockholm syndrome for the Booty Man. It is horrible, and I can't look away. It's like an accident on the freeway.
No, wait, I've developed Stockholm syndrome. Handsome.
Exactly. And we're gonna get sued for copyright infringement. But I like it. That was a really good you have a really good Bender voice. It's
Thanks,
pretty good.
man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're gonna be living in what's left of Undertaker's house coffin by the end of this. But yeah. Yeah, but you're right. I have in my notes here the comment about Miss Elizabeth handcuffing Hulk to the ropes, and she clearly struggles with it, and he like it very visibly helps her put the handcuffs on. Just this is one of those things that we also comment about WCW where their camera work isn't all that great
Yeah.
sometimes. Where things we're not supposed to see, we see, and this is one where they just like zoomed in on it, like he almost like just zoomed in completely on the handcuff, so we could see Hulk putting his own hand in the handcuff. Not great work, not great work.
It was enjoyable though. Made me chuckle.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny from a, "Oh my god, they botched that."
Yeah.
But yeah, when you're trying to put on some long-term storytelling there, not the best.
Yeah, but
Not the
they've
best.
excelled so far tonight with the long-term storytelling. So
Yeah,
we'll
I
give
mean,
them a pass this time.
you didn't know the Zodiac was a spy.
100%.
You got fooled, bro.
Yeah, but
I mean,
now
I
but
knew,
now
but
now
you
it's
didn't know.
so obvious. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
Now when you look back,
I knew the whole time. I just didn't want to embarrass you,
I
but
get you.
yeah,
At what point? Because I'm trying to remember when it would have clicked. At what point did it really set in for you? Like, that's definitely Hogan's spy. Like, when did that happen?
the first time he came out, I just knew.
Whoa!
Yeah,
Wow, it's like a
yeah.
vibe.
It's just you weren't paying attention to the cues, but they were there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. I guess to be fair, we were making fun of this, but there was this angle for a couple of weeks about how Zodiac was like stopping them from like finishing off Hogan. That's happened. Remember that happened a couple of times where like the Giant brought in a chair and Zodiac's like, "No, don't do it, don't do it." And we're like, "Why is he not? Why is he doing that?" So I guess this is the story that they're going with. There was
Listen,
some buildup, but it's
I
stupid.
I hear what you're saying. I'm rejecting it.
It's okay.
No, I'm not accepting it.
I think that's legit. It's terrible. It's terrible, but I think that's the angle. Because why else was he doing that?
I don't think they know.
You don't think they know why he
No.
was
You know
stopping the dungeon from killing Hogan like for
no.
weeks?
You know what's interesting is because we have a little bit of time, so I think we could talk about this. I wonder at what point Bischoff really started taking control of creative. Because one thing he's talked about a lot on his podcast, 83 Weeks, is he talks about like what he would tell the writers, what is the point of the story? What's the next thing? What's it leading to? And trying to get them to understand that because and you very clearly can tell they did not think that way. And obviously, when the new world order happens, you're going to start seeing a lot more of that, this like actual long-term storytelling and really creating this huge structure. Not saying that they're going to all be winners, but you can see at least that they're trying. I wonder if it's around this point that he kind of went, we got to start taking control of this, because everything so far, except for the booty man, everything so far this night, like storyline wise, I'm like, yeah, okay, this makes sense. I'm on board. Let's go.
You'll be surprised to discover that Eric is not a fan of the booty man.
I'm not surprised. I know he's
Not
not.
not his favorite angle. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe this is where he goes, all right, we got to stop this because the booty man does not last all that long. You know,
No.
the funny thing too is character wise, like I liked the Zodiac. I liked the look of the Zodiac. I thought it was a good costume. They just didn't do anything with it. Am I wrong? But I thought the Zodiac was okay.
I won't say you're wrong because I don't think that it was actually a character. I will say I think that's nice that you think that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, like I mean that in the sense of like
No, you're
for
right.
me
You're right. There
it
is
did
no
nothing for me.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. There is no character, but I liked his look. I thought he had a good look. They just didn't do anything with him.
Yeah, you're okay. That I think I could agree with. I wasn't in love with the look, but at least it was something, right? It was unique. It was definitely unique.
It wasn't just assless chaps with neon trunks on underneath.
And we don't like ass men around here.
Well, you say that now.
Yeah. Prove me wrong.
But yeah, I mean, you don't know. You see what I did there?
Yeah. Yeah.
You got it?
I got it. Yeah. It's
Did
good.
you get that reference?
Yeah, it's great.
Oh. All right. I don't know where to go from here, so we're just gonna move on.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because that is the end. That's how we end it with the Hulks are getting handcuffed, setting it up for a leather. I guess I should say it's not just a 6-man tag next week. It is a leather strap 6-man tag next week. What? Okay, we'll see how that works. That's going to be insane. But all right, let's do it. But before we do that, let's go see what WWF Raw is doing. We're still in Cincinnati. We're at the Cincinnati Gardens in Cincinnati, Ohio. We start with a recap of last week, and we're told that Shawn and Bret Hart are going to have a face-to-face confrontation tonight. But before we can get to that, we got a Jake the Snake Roberts versus Isaac Yankem DDS match. And, I don't hate this angle, right? Because Jake the Snake is known for the DDT. That's his finisher.
Right.
And Isaac Yankem does a DDT that he calls the DDS.
Right.
So this is kind of a battle of the DDTs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually how the match ends, right? Yankem tries to put Jake in a DDT. Jake gets out of it. He puts Isaac in the DDT. Jake wins. He defeats Isaac Yankem 3 minutes, 32 seconds. What I don't like about it, though, Joseph,
Yep.
is Dr. Isaac Yankem DDS. How do you feel about this?
Much like how you said that this was the creme de la creme of the booty man, this is the highlight of Dr. Isaac Yankem DDS. This is the most okay thing he's done so far.
And that's it. That's all you gotta say, man.
Yeah, it's not great. You're not
That's
wrong.
it.
I was fine with it, but it's simply there.
Yeah. Not much to write home about on this one. But you're gonna have a lot to say about our next item on the agenda.
Hit me.
And that is yet another Ultimate Warrior promo.
So what's on after? Let's just move on to
It's
what's on after.
Yeah, I was about to check, see if your mic was on because I didn't hear anything. All right. Well, I mean, if you just want to move on, I mean, I guess seriously, do you have anything to say about the promo? I mean, it's just another Ultimate Warrior promo, but you have any thoughts, or should we
Yeah, I
just go?
mean, it's just like senseless. He doesn't say anything. It's just there. It's a vignette. It's like it's the anti-mankind vignettes we've been getting. In the mankind vignettes, they've been so interesting, and you're seeing this character develop, and you're seeing what drives him. Like last week with the mankind one, where he's talking about how he didn't get the gifts that God gave to other men. He was kind of given all the bad things, and you're seeing this, oh, this is why he is this character. All those creative, amazing ideas, you get none of that here.
Yeah, you just get a cocaine fueled nightmare. But after that, we got Diesel and Bob Holly.
That's true.
We like Diesel. We
That's
like
true.
Bob Holly.
That's true.
And we got a match.
Also true.
Yeah. This match, I thought this match was fun. And I thought it was particularly fun because Diesel is paranoid about The Undertaker. He knows The Undertaker is somewhere waiting for him. In between his back and forth with Bob Holly, he's checking under the ring. He's looking all around for him. I thought that was fun. Diesel ultimately wins it. He defeats Bob Holly with a jackknife because that's what Diesel does. That's Diesel power, baby. What did you think about the match, Joseph?
I enjoyed it. Just like you said, I thought that it was nice to see Bob Holly out there. He's not quite getting a lot of screen time, but he's slowly going to start to a little bit more. He will be still a jobber. That's kind of his role. It was enjoyable though. He got to cook a little bit. Diesel let him get some actual action in there, and that was fun. Then you have this. It was actually pretty funny because you had this commercial break, and then right after the commercial break, the jackknife happened. So there was no like lead up to it. It was like, oh, and we're back. Jackknife match is over. But you mentioned the Undertaker stuff, and that is really what makes me enjoy this even more. This got a B plus for me. I don't know if the match itself was a B plus, but the mind games the Undertaker is giving really kind of elevate this. I said it last week. I've said it for a few weeks. This is one of my favorite storylines going on in WWF at this point.
Yeah, agree. And you criticize them for the jackknife right after the commercial break, but that's what happens when you're live, when you're not pre-recorded, so that you could properly edit a match to not do that.
Yeah,
right.
Good point. Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, so there you go.
Dude, you are on point today. You knew about the Booty Man stuff. I didn't see it. You brought up the fact that they're live and that they couldn't just edit this properly. I didn't see it. You're killing it, man.
When you're near death, you have that moment of clarity.
That makes a lot of sense.
And I think that's where I'm at right now. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. But like you said, the Undertaker stuff is fun, and we don't end there with the Undertaker stuff. After the match, Diesel's done. He's heading up the ramp. The lights go out. We get the bong. We get Undertaker's music. Lights come back on. Undertaker is in the ring. Diesel starts heading back down the ramp. He's going to go confront the Undertaker. Lights go out again. They come back on. Diesel's in the ring, but now Undertaker's gone. Lights go off for a third time. Taker's now on the Jumbotron, which is, I don't actually think the Jumbotron at this point, but I'm going to call it that anyways because I don't care. And Taker tells Diesel, he says, I'm the master of mind games. You're not going to see it coming. He's going to see the dark side at WrestleMania. Joseph, I bet you liked this. Tell me how much you liked it.
You got an A. You're absolutely right. I loved it. It was phenomenal. I'm enjoying this storyline. Maybe it's not the greatest storyline ever. I'm not saying it is, but it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. They do this a lot with Undertaker. This is going to happen. This kind of lights go off and he's all over the place thing. It's going to happen more than once. And I love it every time. It's just fun. It's just what he does. It's his thing. And somehow Undertaker to be fair, Undertaker reinvents himself a number of times, but he's always still kind of the same guy. I mean, he's the Undertaker. And somehow he keeps it fresh. He keeps it interesting. It's fun. I like it. I like the guy. Good job, Taker, and good job, Diesel, too. After that, though, we got a video because we're hyping next week's show. We're gonna have Shawn Michaels and the 1-2-3 Kid, and Bret Hart is gonna go against Hunter Hearst Helmsley. That sounds exciting too. That sounds like a good card, Joseph. I'm not saying it isn't.
I think we need to move on to the next match because you're clearly dying, and
What's wrong?
we
What are
we
you talking about?
we need to get you out of here, man.
I've got my country time lemonade. I'm doing just fine. That could be the problem. Not too much sugar for my throat, but whatever. Who
Oh
cares?
man.
You take my country time from my cold, dead hands. Anyways, Ahmed Johnson versus Shinobi. And Ahmed Johnson defeats him. I'm not going to beat around the bush on this because that's what Ahmed Johnson does. Fun fact, though, Goldust calls in, and we love a good phone call. We love a good phone call. Goldust recites a poem, and it's vulgar because that's what Goldust does. Apparently, he's now got a thing for Rowdy Roddy Piper. What'd you think of this, Joseph?
I thought the Goldust phone thing was the most interesting bit of what we're watching. Poor Al Snow. I don't know who's coming up with this stuff for Al Snow, but man, they're all bad. But the Goldust thing I think is the most interesting stuff. And it is as much as it's interesting, it's also like, wow, they don't have any way of being able to tie these storylines together. The Razor Ramon Goldust storyline basically just gets abruptly ended at this point, and they turn it into Goldust and Piper, and there's no segue. There's really no way to make that work, and so they're just kind of, we're gonna scramble and get something going. And so it's interesting, but it's not great overall. The segment kind of got a C minus for me. It wasn't amazing.
You're right. That's what they're doing. They're scrambling because we're switching it up. But then we get another Mankind vignette, and we love the Mankind vignettes. He's got the music. He's got a rat friend. It's all good, man. What did you think of this one? I liked it.
It's another Mankind just masterclass of acting, right? He's creating this character. He's Every week his character gets a little bit more broad. You start to see a little bit more about it, a little bit more nuance. I don't know. Obviously I wasn't a kid watching when this happened, but I don't know how, if you're a kid, you're not like, holy crap, this guy is going to be something. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's another A. You can absolutely say I'm being biased because I've given him an A every single week, and fuck off. He's phenomenal. He's going to get another A. So there you go.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Fuck off. He gets another A. You heard it here first. No,
Put
I,
that on
I
a
agree though.
shirt.
I agree though. It's these are all fun. Like they're serving they exist to hype Mankind and to get excited for his debut, and it's doing that. It's interesting, it's different, it's weird. I want to know more about this character. It's doing it. It works. After this, though, what we've all been waiting for. Next up, it is the face off between Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart with Vince McMahon moderating. Shawn Michaels tells us he respects Bret the Hitman Hart, but Shawn isn't sure if Bret still is the best there is. Bret says nice things about Shawn too, and he's looking forward to showing Shawn just how good he is. Shawn talks about how far he's come and how hard he has trained for this moment, but then Rowdy Roddy Piper comes down, and he declares this thing's going to be a 1-hour match at WrestleMania, and that they should shake hands now because they ain't going to want to shake hands after, which I thought was pretty funny. What'd you think about this, Joseph?
I gave this an A minus. It's not the best segment we're gonna see, but it's a lot of fun. It's a difficult one, right? Because you're having a face versus face match as the main event at WrestleMania. That's what you're building towards, which is difficult to pull off because there's a lot less reason for you to take sides. There's a lot less of a storyline you can build because neither person is being bad. You have these two amazing in-ring professionals, and they then have to try to pull off this storyline of we are both good guys and make it work and make it convincing, which honestly, I don't think either one is pulling off in this segment. The reason this segment gets an A minus is actually because of Roddy Piper. It's incredibly difficult to make a face versus face segment work. It just is, unless you have really talented mic work. And Sean is a really good person on the mic as a heel at this point. He hasn't really found his footing as a face. He can kind of do the very sarcastic face, but he hasn't really found his footing in this whole I'm a good guy shtick. He's really good as a heel, and especially in the next year to two when he finally becomes a heel again, we're going to be talking about a lot of great segments with him. Brett, on the other hand, isn't good on the mic at all. So it doesn't work. It doesn't, you can kind of feel the segment falling a little flat. They're both just kind of saying, oh, I really respect you. I really respect you, blah, blah, blah. Well, I think I'm the better one. I think I'm the better one. And Roddy Piper comes in and he kind of does because he's been both a great face and a great heel, he makes the segment really land and make you hyped for this match. Obviously, talking about how it's going to be an hour-long match. We're really going to see who the best one is. And now it becomes a little bit less about the title and a little bit more about who actually is the best wrestler in the WWF. And that sets the face versus face rivalry, which we didn't have when these two guys were really starting to talk. Piper makes this segment work, and it got an A minus because of that.
Piper is absolutely the highlight. I would disagree with you that Brett's never good on the mic. I think Brett's good on the mic when he's the tactician, when he's just the facts, when he's telling us what he's going to do. When he's really good at, like, Sean's good at these things, but I'll counter him with these things. Like, he's good with blow by blow. Like, he'd be a great play by play commentator. I feel like Bret Hart would be.
Yeah, I think on commentary he's been very good.
Yeah, but this, and you're right, Sean is not great at doing this. He's much better at this point at being a heel, probably because he's just shooting at this point, being a heel. but yeah, it doesn't really work. Sean always goes to this. He's really playing up the, I'm just a boy chasing the dream. That's the angle. That's the thing he comes back to like every time, and he talks about the thugs who beat him up and the all the matches he had to wrestle to get to this point and all that stuff, which is fine. But like we've heard it over and over and over again. And and Brett, Brett's. I always appreciate that Brett's willing to put everybody over. Brett seems to be willing to put just about anybody over. He'll always say something nice about someone, even though I don't necessarily think these two guys are probably getting along at this point. Right. But so he does that. It needed more, and Roddy Piper saved it. And because Roddy Piper's great on the mic. He's just he's a loose cannon, to use a term we like to use for Brian Pillman. And he's just doing what he does best, right? Just being crazy. Just you know what? We're gonna make it a 1 hour match because I can do that, and I represent the people. And that's what the people want. We want an answer. We want to know who is the best, Brett or Sean, and we're gonna find out because you guys are gonna wrestle for an hour. Most pinfalls wins. And I think, and it serves the purpose of getting you excited for WrestleMania. Whoa, a 1 hour match. That's a big deal. That's gonna be crazy. So, yeah, I don't think it's the best from Brett or Sean. Roddy Piper really saved it, but it furthered the story. It did what it needed to do, and I'm okay with that. Backstage, though, Owen and the Bulldog, they're up with the game plan for Yokozuna, and they don't want us to know about it. When the cameraman tries to get in there and figure it out, they slam the door on him. The audacity, Joseph. Can you believe them?
That's incredibly rude.
Yeah. I liked it, though. I thought it was good.
The audacity, really good. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Well, from a story perspective, the audacity, I liked it.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
They're the bad guys. They don't want you to know what they're cooking up for Yokozuna, our hero. But we're going to find out because we got the match. We got Yokozuna in a handicap match versus Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith. If you listen to the last podcast, I wasn't so sure about this match. Yokozuna, he's got a lot of issues right now. He's way too big. He's really we've seen him struggle time and time again in the ring, fatigued very easily, just drenched in sweat. I'm worried about the guy. But the match, I thought, actually was pretty good. I thought he held himself well. I thought it was fun. It ends with a disqualification. Yokozuna wins because Vader interferes. hits Yokozuna with a clothesline. They're triple teaming the guy. Owen Hart, Davey Boy Smith, and Vader triple teaming Yokozuna. Ahmed Johnson comes out. Jake the Snake Roberts comes out, and he brings his snake. And apparently Vader doesn't like snakes. Who knew? Who knew snakes were Vader's kryptonite? They clear it. And because of this, Vince McMahon announces that at WrestleMania, it will be Vader versus Yokozuna, which is crazy that just some announcer can just book a match like that. It's weird how he could do that, but apparently he did. Joseph, what do you make of all this?
It's funny you say that last bit with Vince McMahon, because that's going to become a thing with a particular wrestler who starts kind of breaking down that nuance. And it's not like he does it like as a storyline, but he's just going to start saying things that are very interesting in how he says that, and I love it. At this point, though, I enjoyed the match. I thought it was fine. It's not the best thing ever. It got a B minus for me, but it was enjoyable. It set up for, this interesting, next, or seemingly a conclusion at WrestleMania. I also liked that Ahmed Johnson and Jake the Snake Roberts come in to help save him. I thought that was kind of cool. It cements Yokozuna as this face now. It also gives them a little bit more to do than just kind of, we have these matches once in a while and we win. So it was nice to see that as well. I thought it worked.
Pretty good night. What could go wrong from here, Joseph?
Nothing. It's all fine, right? It ended right here.
Yeah, no, this is the end of the night. It's over. And I think we have to give it to. Oh, wait, no, I see something else in my notes here. Let me see. Let me put my glasses on because it's a little blur. Let me see. It's Larry Fling live. We're doing that again. And now Fling has the Huckster and the Nacho Man on. The Nacho Man says he left WWF because he couldn't keep up with this young talent, this new generation. We get billionaire Ted on from the satellite, and Fling says that he'd wrestle too if he was overpaid, like the Huckster and the Nacho Man. Huckster starts hitting people with chairs. Larry Fling holds up a high heel shoe, which is apparently now Hogan's kryptonite, and he won't hit him now because of that, because of the shoe. It's bad. It's bad, Joseph. But how bad do you think it is?
Yeah, it's pretty horrible. It's not good at all. But I will say this, and this is not a positive. I said last week that you could tell they were going into a comedic direction. At this point, that's all they're doing. They're no longer bringing up really the alleged misdeeds of Ted Turner and what, his is the money coming from his company or is it coming from invest? Like it's none of that. It's literally got cartoon sound effects. That's how corny and comedy based they're trying to make this. And it completely is a 180 with what we had a few weeks ago. So at least there's that. And it's, not going to be, hey, we're going to go as bad as we can and make these, I don't know if I would say ridiculous, but these like over the top allegations. But again, and I'm just going to keep saying it, we just got to wait till WrestleMania and then we're finally done with this.
Do you think if they had started out doing these from a more comedic standpoint, do you think they would have been good? Or do you think the problem is always that they're taking shots at the competitor?
I think taking shots at the competitor in general doesn't work because when you make jokes at somebody and they come from a place of malice, the jokes don't land. It's why a roast works because everybody who's in that room is saying horrific things about whoever is being roasted, but it's because they all love that person. They're good friends with that person. Those were the old roasts that you'd have like Don Rickles at and Dean Martin and all these other celebrities who were really good friends. It's why they were so funny because every single person in that room knew each other. They all loved each other. And so they could pretty much just say whatever they wanted. And that made it work. But you're taking shots because you hate somebody. And so these shots, other than the fact that you can look at them and go, oh man, I can't believe they just said that. Once that shock is gone, is the joke itself really good? It's not. That's what WCW is having a problem with when they make these shots on their program. It's what WWF is having a problem with when they're making their shots on their program. It's what AEW has a problem with when they're making shots on their program. They don't work because they're coming from a place of malice. So even if it was a comedic thing, the place they're coming from is not working. It would make sense if it was like, these are people who used to work at WCW, so they're just taking like little poking fun at people that they were friends with. That might work, but I don't know if the audience would know. There was no, the internet wasn't the same thing, so you couldn't really get behind the scenes as much. I don't think this idea in general really had a way in 1996 to land.
Joseph, if I don't make it through the night, I want you to know something.
What's that?
I never cared for you.
That's fair.
That's a Don Rickles joke
I know.
because we were talking about roast. I know you know, but the Zennials that are listening to us don't know this. So I have to explain it to them. I have to explain to them what a telephone is because they just think it's this computer thing in their pocket. No, folks, you used to have to press buttons, real buttons. And if you're old enough, you had to turn a dial. I've done that. Have you turned a dial, Joseph, to make a phone call? I have done that.
No, I never did the dial. I pressed buttons, but I never did the dial.
I remember once, and you made me feel old when you asked me because we were watching WCW and they do the 1-800-COLLECT things, right? We get to those at some point, and you didn't know what that was. You understood you were aware of it, but you didn't know what a collect call was, and you made me feel like an old man. So just imagine how I feel when these teeny boppers are listening to us here going, "Who's Don Rickles?" Because that's how they sound.
If you don't know who Don Rickles is, just go on YouTube and then have fun.
One of the funniest people to ever live. So that'll be our new podcast. Talk about Don Rickles and all his
Episode 1, Hello Dummy.
Yeah. There we go. There it is. But that does bring us to the end of the night, Joseph. What do you make of it? Who won?
I think, we've been pretty down on WCW quite a few weeks in a row. I mean, even to the point where when they were unopposed, we gave it to Raw. I think this week they really bounced back. Obviously you have the Booty Man stuff, but I think overall, they were a lot more crisp and clean. I think WWF had some segments that really for the reason I gave it to WWF last week, right? The segments that were bad were bad. There was really no bad segment on WCW. All the segments were pretty good. They told stories, they moved stories forward. There were a few on this week that really didn't, and they kind of halted things. The highs were very high. I enjoyed the highs a lot in WWF. I think this was a much more competitive week for both companies than we've seen in a long time.
I think you're right. I would give it to WCW as well. I think it was a better night for them. I thought the matches were more interesting. I don't think really any of the matches were particularly terrible on WWF, but I feel like WWF right now is in a holding pattern waiting for WrestleMania. So we got matches that don't really matter, like Jake the Snake and Isaac Yankem and Diesel and Bob Holly and Ahmed Johnson and Shinobi, otherwise known as Al Snow. I'm so sorry, Al. You're going to get your time, though. We're going to love it. I think that's where they're at. They're just in a holding pattern waiting for WrestleMania. We're so ready for it. And they just gotta keep this going until they get there. Where Sting and Bubba Rogers had a great match. Lex Luger and the Renegade, I thought that was a pretty good match too. The Road Warriors and Harlem Heat, the Road Warriors were back. I've been kind of down on them. They were back in that match. That was a good match. That was a good back and forth, brawl, as I like. Yeah, the Hogan, Savage, Booty Man, Sullivan, Arn, Flair match, not this match. I mean, it really was a Booty Man push. Some might even call it a tush push. I knew you'd like that one. But it was fine for what it was. I really have no beef with Nitro tonight. And I really don't have a beef with Raw either. It's just, we're just waiting. We're waiting for WrestleMania. And that's the difference. So what did the fans think, though, Joseph? What are those ratings? Let me know.
So Raw held steady with 3.1.
But Nitro beat them with 3.2. So for the second week in a row, the fans were right.
And more importantly, agreed with us.
Well, that's why they're right.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, because if they didn't agree with us, they'd be wrong. Because we know we are the arbiters of taste.
Yeah, we've never been wrong about anything, ever.
Never. I once thought I was wrong, but I was mistaken. And on that terrible joke, I think we're done, Joseph. Anything more?
No, I'm good, man.
Well, on behalf of me and Joseph, thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time, if I survive.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hey, everybody, it's Joseph. And guess what? Not only can you listen to us every Monday on Spotify, but you can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and YouTube Podcasts as well. Just search for Monday Night Wars Podcast. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us on Twitter at MON Night Wars Pod, on Instagram at Monday Night Wars Podcast, or just email us at mnwpodcast@gmail.com. And finally, subscribe to our Patreon at Monday Night Wars Podcast. For $2 a month, you get every pay-per-view from WCW and WWF during this era, as well as additional content later on. Once again, thank you for listening. We'll see you here next time on the Monday Night Wars Podcast.